Good afternoon, and thank you very much. I will stick to time and not go through all the slides I've got. So I think I've been dealt a bad slot here, going straight after Sunil, because there are few speakers who are going to be as entertaining as what he is. So I won't be entertaining, but you might find there are some things I've got to say which are of interest. The last time I spoke here was in 2017, and I left my email address and said if anybody is interested, do contact me. Nobody did, except for one person, a gentleman called BJ Sahu, but I won't say who he is because those of you will know. But BJ said that's because nobody's contacting you because they don't believe you. They do not believe that somebody who has worked for 15 years as Director of HR of the University of Cambridge and London School of Economics is just going to come over and meet and help anybody in Mumbai or India or anywhere. So let me just stress that point once again. So I live a privileged life. I was born in a place called Jamshedpur. I was 1 year old before I went to UK. Indi is short for Indrajit, and I'm a Sikh heritage. I have lived all my life in UK, and probably only in recent times have realized that if there's one thing to be privileged about, to have a Sikh Indian working for 15 years as Director of HR in Cambridge and in LSE, then the one good thing I could do was to try and make the benefit of that back to the ancestry of where I came from. So at the end of the slides, I always say, and this is me, and if you need to contact me, do so. If you need help, I'll come over. Yeah? I don't charge. I'm doing it as a recognition of India. And it is actually true. If you look at the world of technology, if you look at what's happening in UK, US, Canada, I see many British Asians. Yeah? In Cambridge and LSE for 15 years, how many Indians have I seen? Well, just me. So whatever the reason, it's privileged, and these environments are remarkable because unless you've been into them, you don't understand. You know, if you want to understand what true culture is, 2 points of fact. Firstly, if you're average, and you get the privilege to work for an organization that's elite and good, you become good yourself. I genuinely think I'm better today in doing human resources than what I was 15 years ago. Secondly, we did a remarkable study at Cambridge University which said if Cambridge wanted to get rid of its culture, basically if we wanted to come out of the top 10 universities in the world, they estimated it would take about 30 to 40 years. Yeah? That is because when you have a history of 825 years of success, and it isn't all written down, but has become endemic in the way everything happens, it's quite hard actually to dismantle it backwards and say, well, we don't want to do this anymore, or actually, how do you convert success into failure? Of course, it was only done because in most cases, we're trying to say, how can we be more successful? But it's just to sort of demonstrate that I think I've had exposure to something which even I'm surprised about in my life. Yeah? And the very fact that I am meant I had this sort of wonderful opportunity to meet BJ and some others around what they do, but actually to say, look, I'm also open to anybody else. Yeah? I'm not a consultant. I'm not somebody who's doing business. I get paid by the LSE. I'm just a normal HR director, but who's experienced some wonderful things. And by the way, prior to that, I was in running the National Crime Agency and the Crown Prosecution Service in UK, so it's a very different background. But I'm here to talk about purposeful leadership. And I thought maybe if I spent a few minutes on that as a subject, it could get you sort of interested and would align with some of the other speakers and what they're standing for. And I talk about purposeful leadership in the sense of my own personal experience. So all you're going to get is a story of Indi, Seehra, which may be interesting, it may not be. But I asked the question, what do I stand for? I'm not asking that question of myself, I'm asking you all to ask it of yourself. Because that is a very difficult question to answer. And it took me many, many years to understand what I stood for before I realized why I became a good HR director rather than just an HR director. Now, obviously there's always a link between, oh, the slides aren't moving. Okay. There's always a link between, I'll do it by hand. There's always a link between why you want to have personal purpose and how you get organizational purpose. Organizational purpose, hopefully, we'll understand a little bit more. I've thrown a couple of examples here, but if you look at London School of Economics, you know, its organizational purpose, pretty consistent over 125 years, has been to know the causes of things for the betterment of society. And London School of Economics is a university and a social science university. Yeah? It is at the moment undergoing depression, because it's not the first leading social science university in the world, it's the second. We've just been overtaken by Harvard, and we're having a review of why that's happened. But you can see there's an ambition there, and then we talk a little bit about vision. And then I was looking at Amazon and the story of Amazon, which has been recognized as a purposeful brand in India, and it's actually quite interesting when you start to look at what is Amazon doing in terms of purpose, and what did it understand about the Indian market that made it successful here in the speed that it became so. But there's clearly a link between the visions and missions of organizations and self-purpose. I'm going to miss this slide out deliberately because we're having to look at time. But in terms of purposeful leadership, look, just a bit of literature review. If you're saying, what is written about purpose today? Well, here's a source, Herbert Joly, who picks out 4 or 5 key things. Yeah? And I'm not going to go through them, but I'm going to say, look, there's a range of things, because different speakers would have mentioned them to you at different points in discussions today. But it is true that actually authentic leadership, being the inner self, is really the challenge of today. Yeah? There are few HR directors who are renowned, and HR professions that are renowned for meeting the lowest level of the Maslow hierarchy. Most of us are now looking at what makes the difference in success, and most of us have now tackled many of the issues, but we come to the area of self-actualization, the area of us and our passion, because that's where the link comes between organizations, systems, and processes. And we know from technology developments in the last few years, they can be made better and better and better. So the distinct advantage of why organization A might be doing something better than organization B is something around people and something about those that lead them. So putting that proposition to you says, well, is that proposition supported by research? So I will just give you one example of a research. Bill George, 2009, True North. Yes, getting on a bit now for a few years, but everything he has to sell is valid now. And indeed, any other writings since then seem only to duplicate what he has said at the beginning, which is actually authenticity is here to last and will make the difference over a sustainable period. And you've heard that from other speakers. And what his model here simply shows, without me going into too much detail, is that there's a variety of things that create authenticity over time. Yeah? But one of them is the sense of long-term destiny. And long-term destiny directly links to what do you stand for? Who are you as an individual? Yeah? So, I went through a journey of what I stand for. I met an individual called Woody Butner, who's based in Dallas. And at the time that I met him, he had just finished quite a bit of work that he'd done at the time with a gentleman called President Reardon. So I was quite impressed. And I said, I think, yes, thank you for allowing me to interview you. I'd like you to be my coach. And he started to introduce me to what I stand for. Now, actually, I thought this would be like, 6 coaching sessions, something like that. But actually, what I found myself doing was initially I was with him for 3 days, and then he took me through a process. And I just wanted to put this process up because this is what's required if you really want to think about what you stand for. Yeah? And I'm not going to go through every single one, but the important things are that if you want to decide what you will stand for and you want clarity on it, you need help with trying to forget some things in the past, and that's a process of discussion of resentments. What are your regrets? What do you acknowledge? What are the emotional connections? And he took me through a process. It took 3 days, but there's a point where you talk about intentions for the future, skin in the game, and the self-revelation. Who am I? And it hugely helped. This happened in 2008-09. As a result of that, I decided I no longer wanted a future in crime. I wanted a future in something else. I was actually in the wrong sector, but actually in the right profession. Yeah? And the other thing that I've started to do since then, and you will find from videos and things on the internet, is most people who have been through that process then become themselves protégés of what Woody Buckner has done to us. So today I do a number of things which slightly relate to my personal journey. Now, just to sort of commence the journey and get you to just think a little bit about what you might want to think about yourself personally and what you might want to think about in terms of leadership as a concept within your environment. Me, myself, and I. That's a concept, an idea I'd put to you. Me. That's your center of judgment, your ability to conclude on matters based on past experiences. Yeah? Most of us in the HR profession get very good at me. Indeed, most of us will go through education where me teaches us a lot of skills around me. Yeah? Myself, the center of action. Yeah? We're human beings. We're in the being, actually unlike most other animals. In the being means we can think in the moment and change strategies in the moment. Yeah? By being in the human being, thinking in the moment, a mass of conflicting information, the ability to react and reach conclusions through a combination of hard and soft data. Yeah? We have the ability to say there are facts, we have the ability to look at the situation and make a judgment of what the right thing to do is. The thing is, the more you can practice that, the better you get at it. Do we practice it? Question mark. And the I, the center of intended purpose and future dreams. The storytellers. What do I imagine the future could be like? Because where else do you get the passion of what you stand for? It's some vision of the future. Yeah? And there's 2 other sort of interesting bits of study around this. One is, if you take a group of people and say what happened in the last 10 minutes, it's hard for them to agree. If you take a group of people and say, what would you like to do in the future, it's actually quicker and easier for them to agree. Yeah? And the other thing that I would say also around this is that there's a whole area of study, which is all in the medical and biological space, that supports what I've just put up in front of you. Except there's a different group of people, and it'll be a different conference that will be talking about the fact that the brain is structured in a way to look at the me, myself, and I. The difference is how much of those different places of your brain are you actively using. Yeah? So how many times do you say something in anger in the moment and then say, oh, I wish I hadn't said that? Yeah? How control are you of yourself? Some people say to me, they enjoy working for leaders who behave consistently. Consistent behavior means you have to be in touch with all 3 selves. Me, myself, and I. Yeah? Because you have to know how you're feeling, whilst at the same time they're managing yourself in the right way to be consistent to others. Okay, so, well look, I'll just tell you what I stand for. So I've put it up. And I'm only putting it up just to give you an example, and I'm not saying all of you have to come up with paragraphs like this, but it's just something that I constantly sort of look at this, sometimes I tweak the odd word, but I'm surprised how over 15 years I've not tweaked a whole sentence. Yeah? I stand for the possibility that leaders can significantly enhance the quality of work and the experience and well-being of people through excellence in leadership, teamwork, relationship building, and acknowledgement recognition. Whatever our area of work, and mine include the passion to support education and its opportunities, either now or whatever work becomes in the future, I believe these basic needs of us as human beings will enhance both the economic and social fabric of society, as well as our individual life experiences. Now, the next job for the director of HR in a university is chief operating officer. Yeah? What I know is, I don't want that job. So what I do is go to conferences, do other things that help me to do that, rather than what I would have perhaps done 30 years ago. And I'm so grateful because I've actually had a happy life. Some of you have talked about happiness, but I actually think I've had a happy life for 15 years. And I actually think I've contributed to leadership in the environments that I've been in. And how many people can say, I've contributed to the leadership of Cambridge University or an organization that's elite in its environment for so long? Recently, because of something I'm involved with, there was a meeting between Cambridge University and the Shirmani Gurdwara Prabandh Committee in Punjab. If any of you know what that terminology, it is the ultimate highest committee of Sikhism. Now, Sikhism is just over 500 years old. University of Cambridge is over 800 years old. Who was the senior partner in the room? That is most unusual, that you would experience that, especially as me as a Sikh in the room trying to facilitate the process. Am I okay for 2 minutes? Very quickly, just want to share with you the latest thing that I'm trying to do in terms of passion in getting, how can I get things that happen in the academia world to practitioners in the marketplace? How can I get the knowledge that's there direct to practitioners in the marketplace? I've been involved with this project for the last 18 months with a company called Talent Squared, and what's important is it's a case study on purposeful leadership. Me and Suresh has been doing a lot of the funding, I've been doing a lot of the organizing, have together come up with a concept which is around making, sorry, that's me messing with the slides.
Let's talk a little bit about
I didn't expect that to instantly slide. But we have been, let me just speak and then I'll put it on. So what we were looking at is, how can we make great leaders accessible to practitioners? And the idea we came up with was to say, let's begin something that might be the Spotify of lecturing, but actually might be of interest to organizations to actually show or to make available to practitioners. How can we get the great world academia to be in touch with? And what we've come up with is first to say, look, what about having, the old records? How about 6 lectures? How about making them available? Now we're looking at how we make those 6 lectures compatible with AI, compatible with AI. But let me just play a very quick clip to you.
Let's talk a little bit about recalibration.
I would like to discuss the possibility of re-engineering or at least rethinking some of the concepts that we live by.
I want to persuade you that we need to rethink immigration in a certain way.
Earning a salary is not the reason why you have an ambition and choose a career.
What the COVID pandemic underlined was, when you shut down essentially the whole of the economy of the world bounces back.
And there is no doubt that this shift will have a lasting impact.
So that's about recalibrate. It's about 6 individuals in very different disciplines saying, how will the world and the business world have to recalibrate as a result of COVID-19 and what the world of work will be like following that. In there is an anthropologist, in there is a business economist. And what they do is make a series, and this is a concept and an idea that Suresh and I wish to share. So let me just put the final slide up, because these couple of slides just say a little bit about how to get there and what we're trying to do, but I'm sort of making it accessible to you, yeah? So what I'm saying is, look, if you're interested in anything about me, myself, and I, interested in a course that I run on it, look, just contact me. Details are there. It's no big deal. You know, I'm always thinking of a reason to come to Mumbai. Yeah, always a great place to come, but anywhere in India, because the ancestry and the connection is there. And when you haven't realized the value of the connection for 50 years, when you're realizing it in your 60th year, you want as much of it as possible. Secondly, if you think you might be interested in the record label, there's another contact there as well, but you can contact me. But it's just, one is an example of how I'm trying to assist. The other is, look, here's what I've got to say about purposeful leadership. If you think there's something of interest there, talk to me, make connection. Mumbai, and can I just tell 30 seconds? Look, Mumbai must be the only place where people, to me, always seem so relaxed. So yesterday I arrived, and I came down in the lift to the conference. In the lift must be somebody who is so famous that they cannot possibly move if they arrived in UK. Yeah? I won't say anything more than that. Everybody in the lift on floor 15 is standing calmly. It's a pretty full lift, and I get in. My reaction is to want to turn around to this individual and say, can I take a selfie? How come you're here? Everybody's calm, comes down, off they go. I'll probably never ever find this individual again. But how relaxed you all are. I mean, the other day the taxi driver, yesterday evening, took me out and said, oh, so-and-so lives here, so-and-so lives there. And I thought, wow. You know, I only have one touch to fame, which is that I was born in Jamshedpur. Yeah? And my fame, and why I think that's important, is because I found out one day that Priya Champra Janis was also born in Jamshedpur. What's more, she was born 2 roads away from where I was born. But anyway, on that subject, let me end. Thank you so much for listening to me.